Thank you very much. So I'm going to walk through some slides before I hand it off to Scott Ward. Scott Ward is a principal solutions architect on the partner team, and I'm the principal product manager for a new service that launches GA yesterday called AWS Security Hub. We're going to walk through an overview. We're going to talk a little bit about integrations with Security Hub, including various partners that have integrated with Security Hub. And then Scott will actually show you how those partners interact with Security Hub through a live demo. So real quick background, why did we build Security Hub? We think about why through these four major buckets. First, we talk to customers, and customers, especially ones in regulated industries, have large backlogs of compliance rules that they want to build out for their AWS environment, but they haven't had a chance to yet. This is sometimes in the hundreds of rules in the backlog. And what is that? Database locked.
Sorry.
That is not part of the slides. Although this sort of sounds like a compliance requirement. Have you locked your database?
Passwords. There we go.
Thanks. Cool. Secondly and thirdly, customers have lots of alerts in lots of different formats. For most customers that we talk to, they have 5 to 20 different security products trying to protect their AWS environment. And each of those products is spitting out alerts in different formats, and they're spending sometimes hundreds, even thousands of hours parsing and normalizing these data sets to get them into a common format so that they can be easily searched and analyzed. That obviously takes a lot of time and effort, but they're also seeing lots of alerts. Our largest Security Hub customer today is pushing 1 million alerts per day into Security Hub. And certainly as you get to those larger volumes, you need tooling to help you prioritize not only which alerts are most important and most require action and investigation, but also what are the underlying resources associated with those alerts that most urgently need your attention. And then lastly, folks want an integrated view. They want an integrated view across all their accounts. So if you're dealing with dozens or hundreds, even thousands of accounts, your security team wants a consolidated view across all those accounts. And they want a consolidated view across both their security and compliance issues. Typically what we see is that the most common cause of a data breach in a customer environment is due to insecure configurations of S3 buckets, IAM roles or users, et cetera. And so compliance is a key security concern for AWS customers. Oftentimes in more legacy environments, I see security and compliance teams being very separate. In AWS, those teams need to work hand in hand. Oftentimes it's the same person dealing with security and compliance issues. So that's why we built Security Hub. In terms of what Security Hub does, it's designed to be a very easy-on experience. With 1 or 2 clicks from the management console, you can turn on Security Hub. And once you turn on Security Hub for a single account, you start automatically aggregating findings or alerts from your key AWS security services like GuardDuty, Inspector, and Macie. And then we've integrated with 30 additional partner products. And all those integrations we've done, both on the AWS side and on the partner side, they're all sending in their alerts to Security Hub in a standardized format. We call that the AWS security finding format. So as a customer, you don't need to do any parsing or normalization. We've taken care of all that pain upstream. The finding provider or the alert provider is taking care of that on their end. We're giving you tools to help you prioritize those alerts. So we're converting all those alerts into a standardized severity scoring scale. And we have prepackaged searches. We call those managed insights that allow you to quickly drill into which resources have the most problems in terms of consolidation of alerts on those resources. By the way, 1 click to turn that on for a single account. We also have a script that we link to from our console to turn on across all accounts, across all regions by running a simple script. But that's one big use case. The other big use case for us is around automated compliance checks. So we have compliance standards. The first standard that we've rolled out is the CIS, the Center for Internet Security AWS Foundations Benchmark. We have a bunch of other compliance standards coming out beginning this year. But for the CIS standard, there are 43 controls that we've included in our standard. And each of those controls, we are continuously and automatically assessing compliance against them. We're using a lot of config rules under the covers. In some cases, we're doing some things beyond config rules. But literally one click, and this is on, and then we start reporting out your compliance scores. So we're not just a dashboard for this information. We help you operationalize it. We do that all via our integration with CloudWatch events. All of the findings that we create via our compliance checks and the ones that we ingest from other products and services are sent out via CloudWatch events. And then you can use CloudWatch event rules to connect Security Hub to your ticketing system, to your chat systems, remediation workflows. And we have a bunch of CloudFormation templates now to help automate the setup of those CloudWatch event rules. So we went GA, I guess we went GA Monday night. So you probably saw the announcement Tuesday morning. We went public preview at reInvent. So over the last 6 or 7 months, we have been testing and getting feedback from customers. In the press release, which you may have saw, we announced that over 3,000 customers are now using Security Hub, which is really exciting. And as part of our GA announcement, we rolled out our pricing. And in general, our philosophy is to keep pricing low for Security Hub. You know, Security Hub is a force multiplier. It makes all of our security services and those other partner products more effective by correlating the alerts coming from them. So there are 2 pricing dimensions. One is based on compliance checks. So a fraction of a cent for every compliance check that we do. And this actually mirrors the new config rule pricing that's rolling out August 1st. We're just a little ahead of that. And then the second pricing dimension is around finding ingestion events. Those are the alerts that we're ingesting from those AWS and partner products. And you can see here, finding ingestion events are essentially free for most customers. 90% of the accounts that we onboard during the preview period were under 10,000 finding ingestion events per account, per region, per month. And that is a perpetual free tier for us. If you go above 10,000, it's $3 for every 100,000 findings. We're in 15 regions today. We launched a number of additional features as part of the GA and post-preview process, including integration with CloudFormation, tag-based access controls, CloudWatch events, and some other features there. All right, so a really important part of Security Hub is that we've taken an open, extensible approach. We've made it easy for partners to integrate with us. We have 30 partners that have built integrations with their products. And you can see that these cover all the major categories of security products. But we generally think about these partners in 2 big buckets in terms of partners that are sending us alerts like vulnerability scanners, firewalls, endpoint protection platforms, compliance tools, managed security service providers. Then we have containers, help, CyberArk, someone?
MSS, oh.
Privileged identity management,
Yeah.
Jeez. And McAfee is their CASB solution. So we have those folks that are sending us findings, and then we have a bunch of partners who are taking findings from Security Hub and helping customers respond and remediate those findings. So we have SOAR platforms, security orchestration, automation response platforms like Rapid7, Insight Connect, Demisto, and Splunk, ticketing systems like ServiceNow and Jira, on-call management systems like PagerDuty, some SIM systems like QRadar, Sumo Logic, and Splunk Enterprise. So a number of partners here that are helping folks take action. Interesting, we're also integrating with open source tools. So Cloud Custodian is an open source platform, a compliance tool that was originally developed by Cap One. You can also integrate your own custom findings or detections into Security Hub. As long as those alerts that you're sending to us align to the AWS Security Finding format, you can push them into Security Hub. By the way, we have 100 partners in the queue for later this year, so there's a long line of additional partners that you'll see coming online into Security Hub later this year. All right, so on the taking action piece, I want to dive into that just a little bit further before I hand it over to Scott. And on the taking action piece, there are really two types of ways in which we operationalize findings. Both are using CloudWatch events. The first way is that we are sending all findings fully automatically out to CloudWatch events. So that automatic push to CloudWatch events is good if you just want to route findings to your SIEM, to an S3 bucket for long-term storage. If you want to send all findings of a certain severity level automatically to your ticketing system, you can do that quite easily with the CloudWatch event rule. Secondly, we are sending selected findings out to CloudWatch events. So an analyst can go into our console and pick a specific finding, or up to 20 findings, and associate that group or that one finding with a specific action, like sending that specific finding to a ticketing system or to a remediation workflow. In that case, we also send that finding out to CloudWatch events. We decorate it with a tag, such as send to ticketing, and then a CloudWatch event rule picks it up and sends it to the ticketing system. The nice thing about all those taking action partners is that each of them have a CloudFormation template that automates this whole process. It puts in place the CloudWatch event rule associated with their integration. We have some new APIs that allow them to automatically add the custom action in our action menu in the console associated with their product as well. Actually, so I got, I think, just a couple more slides here before I hand it over to Scott. One thing I wanted to point out really quickly here is that we have a wide variety of customers, and we've built Security Hub so that it can be used by AWS's largest customers, and it can also be used by the customer that might have just a single person responsible for security and compliance. We've built it so that it's simple enough to be used by the one-person security shop, but also extensible enough to be used by our largest customers with hundreds of people working security. And we have three major use patterns across these customers. We have some customers that are logging into Security Hub console every day and using that console as their centralized workspace to resolve all of their security and compliance issues associated with their AWS environment. We have other customers that already have a SIEM, already have a Splunk or Sumo Logic or QRadar in place. And in that case, they've already built workflow hanging off that SIEM, and they're using Security Hub to route all of their AWS findings to the SIEM, including the findings that we generate from our automated compliance checks, which obviously you wouldn't be getting from your SIEM deployment. Thirdly, we have, and by the way, this third use pattern is not mutually exclusive to the first two, so oftentimes it's used in conjunction with the first two, one of the first two. And we have customers that are setting up read-only access into Security Hub for their account owners, so that their account owners have a dashboard and can proactively understand their security and compliance posture. In that case, they're oftentimes hooking up Security Hub to a ticketing system or to a chat system so that those account owners can interact with the security team and discuss any security or compliance issues that they're seeing in their environment. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott to show you the cool stuff and how this all works in action.
Awesome. Thanks, Eli. All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming out, everybody. Let's take the rest of our time here and take a little bit deeper dive into the actual Security Hub product and then show you what it's like. To start off with, when the first time you go into AWS and you want to turn on Security Hub, you're going to be presented with the sign-in screen for Security Hub. Choose Go to Security Hub. And it is going to be one button for turn on. So if you've used guard duty before, it's the same experience. It's one button, turn on. You can see the service permissions that Security Hub needs to put in place. If you'd like to, this is going to give it access to Inspector, Macie, guard duty, and config, so that it can pull in those findings and run the rules. And then you're going to enable Security Hub. And that's all that you need to do to get up and running and started on turning on Security Hub so you can start using it, ingesting findings, and taking advantage of it. So if we dig a little bit deeper, once you come into Security Hub and you've been using it and you have some data coming in, you're going to have a summary screen. That's going to be your primary starting point for Security Hub. So you're going to have a list of some insights, which are, once again, the saved searches. You're going to have a list of the integrations, as far as the last time an integration came in from Inspector, Macie, and Guard Duty. And by the way, after you turn on Security Hub, it's about a 5-minute window, and Security Hub will start pulling in those findings from Inspector, Guard Duty, and Macie if you have those turned on and are using those today. You're also going to see a list of your You're going to see your compliance standards, the resources with the most failed compliance checks, and then some graphical representations of some key insights that are built for you and provided by the Security Hub team. So we're going to dive a little bit into each one of these a little bit more. To start off with, the settings. Eli mentioned the multi-account strategy. So you can come in here and you can actually add more accounts. So you can pick a master AWS account where you want to see all of your security findings, and then you can actually invite other accounts in your organization to share a copy of their findings into your master account. So your team can have one view of security findings related to all your AWS accounts. So you can go in here, add accounts, add the account number, add the email address of the account owner. They'll receive an invite request. Once they acknowledge that, they will then be forwarding a copy of all of their findings into that central dashboard. If you've got a lot of accounts that you want to onboard, you actually have the ability to upload a CSV file that will have, just needs to have the account number and the email address. And once you upload that, Security Hub will send out all the invitations there. And we also have, on the bottom here, we have a link to a GitHub repo where you can actually run a script that will help you to kind of automate that multi-account step. And bringing everything into one single account as far as getting a view of your Security Hub findings. There's also the custom actions that Eli referred to a little bit, where you can actually create custom actions. Lovely. So custom actions are nothing more than something allowing you to selectively choose findings and send them off to an appropriate target. So you go in and you define a custom action. You need to give it a name, a description, and an action ID. And that action ID is going to be what's used to generate an Amazon resource name, that ARN. And we're going to use that to help define you're going to use that when you define your CloudWatch event rules, so that when you do take an action, that it routes to the target that you want it to for the action that you're trying to take in Security Hub. And I'll show you a few examples of that in a minute. For the partner integrations, you go to the integration section, and you can see a list of all of the partners who are vetted and are enabled as providers of findings into Security Hub. So you can go in here, you can search for partner names, you can scroll through and see each of their cards. These are all currently enabled. I'll just disable one real quick so you can see the experience. But when you're looking at these partner cards, a couple things are going to be available to you. You're going to see the purchase link. So if you don't use that solution today, that purchase link will actually take you to the AWS Marketplace, so you can actually go subscribe to that product. The configure link is going to tell you how do you actually configure the partner product so that it'll send findings related to your AWS environment into Security Hub. And when you want to actually enable the product to be able to send findings into your account, you just click on the Enable Integration option. It's going to show you the JSON file of the resource policy that's being put in place against Security Hub for your account and for that partner product, which is you're granting that partner access to be able to send findings into your account on your behalf. You enable the integration, and then it will then show as enabled at that point. So you now have when you have the relationship with that product, you've enabled it, you've configured it, it can now send findings into your account. So the compliance standards, we have currently the Center for Internet Security is the compliance organization that we're running compliance checks on in Security Hub. And when you come in to look at the compliance standards, you're going to get an overall score. It's going to show you how percentage complete are you as far as being compliant. And that compliance score is going to be based on all of the AWS accounts that you have linked to your master Security Hub account. So if you have 5 accounts, that compliance score is going to apply to all the resources and all the configurations in those 5 accounts. So you can see your overall compliance score. You can get a little bit of view of, for each of the controls, how far or how close or far away are you to being compliant as far as how many failed and how many successful compliance checks do you have for each of the controls. You can see an overall count of how many compliant rules you have and how many non-compliant rules that you have. Clicking on the compliance standard will take you deeper. We will provide you a list of insights about each of the rules that we're currently checking, so you can get an even deeper view of how many resources are compliant, how many resources are not compliant for each one of your accounts and the resources in your accounts. So we can go even deeper. We have this one rule, for example, showing us how many security groups allow egress access or allow access over port 22 to the internet, something we generally don't want to see. So we'll get a list of accounts that are actually failing that compliance check, or these are actually security groups that are failing that compliance check, as well as which ones are passing. So you have an overall view of what that looks like for that particular compliance rule. Clicking on the title link will bring you up more detail about that particular finding, information about the severity, the account, the last time it was updated. And if you want to be able to just narrow this down, you want to only look at the stuff related to this particular account, you click on this plus sign. It will actually bring the account ID into your search string so that you're now only looking at compliance rules and compliance findings related to that particular account. So you have the ability to narrow your scope as you're digging into the information you're looking at. For compliance, we're also giving you details on how to fix this particular finding if you are out of compliance. And clicking on that link will take you to our public documents that talk about, here's what this particular rule means, and here's how you can go and fix this and address it. So you have some guidance there as well as what you might want to do. If you click on any of the findings, clicking next in the checkbox to the left of the finding enables you to actually go to the actions dropdown, and you can choose any one of the actions that you've created as custom actions in Security Hub. So whatever makes sense for you for a particular finding you're looking at, you can choose what you want to do with that, and that'll route onto the appropriate target you've configured for that particular action. If we go into insights, insights are basically a collection of saved searches that allow you to group like resources and be able to get more visibility around where you might want to spend your time or where you need to dive deeper to understand what's going on and maybe figure out where you're going to make the biggest impact when it comes to addressing security events that exist in your account. So there are around 25 to 30 curated insights that Security Hub delivers today, and then you can create your own custom insights as well. And so Security Hub ones are going to say right in here that it's a Security Hub managed insight, so you know that this is one that Security Hub created. And if you created it yourself, it'll say custom insight there instead. If we go a little bit deeper, we can look at take a look at the top EC2 instances by count of findings. And so one of the key things that makes an insight is that I've got a group by. So we can see I've got a group by. I'm grouping by the resource ID. That's allowing me to be able to see by each resource, based on how it's defined in the finding, what's the count of the total number of findings that exist for that particular resource. I also get a view over here on the right of what's the count and how many findings do I have per account, per resource type, and per resource ID. Once again, give me the ability to figure out where I might want to go spend some more time or drill even deeper. I can actually go look at this account ID, and I can go even further into looking at resources only related to that particular account. And then I can drill even deeper into seeing what's going on with that particular resource. And I can see here I've got an instance that's getting a lot of findings, in this case, from a third-party findings provider that's telling me more about what's going on with that particular resource. So I can start very high level, and I can drill into the exact details that are meaningful to me. And once again, I can go in here, I can choose any one of these, and I can choose to take action on the findings that matter to me. We also can create custom insights. So I can start here with a curated insight, the AWS resources with the most findings, And I have some ones that I care about that I want to be able to create my own insight or have my own view of security findings. So I can actually go in here and add in this case, I care about the severity. I only want the high severity stuff. So I'm going to apply that. So immediately the list of resources that are tied to that shrinks. And then I care specifically about the stuff coming from one of my partners. So in this case, I'm going to choose CrowdStrike. And that gives me even more of a focused view around what I care about when it comes to looking at my security. And so now I've got this insight that is meaningful to me and allows me to go in and do the things that I want to do. So I can actually, clicking on Create Insight, I can create my own insight. This is my last demo. And create that insight. Now I have, when I go back into Insights, I have my own curated finding or insight that I can go into again and again and again to kind of view what are the things that are meaningful to me and that I want to focus on. Okay, so we talked about taking action, where you can selectively choose a finding or a group of findings in Security Hub and send them onto a target to do something further. So I want to give you a few examples of that so you can kind of see that in action. So the first example is that I'm just going to choose this initial finding, and I want to just send that on to Slack. That's, I want to get that in the hands of somebody who is going to be able to look at that finding and do something further, or my operations team has additional bots in place that they're going to use to help address and resolve and get the questions answered on that finding. So the way this works is it's a custom event going into CloudWatch events that goes to a Lambda function that is going to convert it into a format that we can send to Slack. And then it's got environment variables about the Slack webhook URL that I want it sent to. So I'm going to choose Send to Slack. And immediately, I've got my new finding showing up here in Slack, so I can do something further with it, or I can get it off to the right teams. Okay? Even further on the operational front, I might want to be able to actually see my incidents in PagerDuty. This is a partner integration. I like PagerDuty. I want to be able to route it on. I want to apply the right rules. I want to make sure that the right people see this finding. So I can actually go in, once again, to Security Hub, and let's move something different. Let's move a compliance rule. We're going to move this into PagerDuty. The way this works, it's a custom event definition to CloudWatch events. CloudWatch events is sending to an SNS topic, which then has a subscription, which is an HTTPS endpoint to a specific URL that PagerDuty has given me for the configuration I've made in PagerDuty. So that's the flow for this one. Sending it to PagerDuty. Refresh this. And here's my new finding. I've got my compliance finding now showing up in PagerDuty. And PagerDuty is going to allow me to see more detail about that particular finding, and then from here I can use all the features and functionality that I may know and love when it comes to PagerDuty to do something further with this. And the final example I want to show you is really around what you could do on your own. Maybe you have some custom code. Maybe you know how you want to address a particular resource, or how you might want to do how you might want to resolve something. You've got code. I know how I want to solve it. So in this example, I need to remember where I put my data. Sorry. There we go. So in this example, I've got a list of EC2 instances from GuardDuty that are showing me that they've got some problems. And so I'm going to dig into this a little bit deeper. And I'm going to look at one of the EC2 instances. And I've got a fair amount of findings here that are telling me, you know what, I don't want this EC2 instance communicating with anything else anymore. I actually want to take this instance, and I just want to switch the security groups on it. The only people who should be getting into it are my security team. I want them to go into it. I want them to do their forensics, but I don't want to tear the instance down. So let's take this instance right now. This is an instance running in our account. And we can see right now, for the purposes of this, it's got a particular security group tied to it. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to choose. I want to isolate that instance. I want to remove it from where it is and how it's communicating right now. the way this works. It's a custom action going to a CloudWatch event, going to a Lambda function that I wrote that is basically going to pull out the instance ID from the finding, and it's going to switch it to a security group that's defined as an environment variable on the Lambda function. So I choose isolate instance. I go back, and I refresh that, and it's now been switched to my security team security group. So a lot of different things that you can do when it comes to Security Hub, both from an analysis standpoint and how you actually take action and react to the things that are showing up in Security Hub for you. So any last closing items you want to add, Eli?
I think we're just about out of time, but we'll stick around for questions if anyone has them. Thank you very much.
Good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen.